I don't know whether these have been kicking around, but I'm not happy. It's not too soft, also not too hard, just right for consumption. And the reason behind it, standing right there. I can get this bit sorted before he comes back, because if not, he's not going to be very happy. Yo, how's everyone doing? So today we're going to be putting in some first fix ready for this decking upgrade. So this decking has now been completely renewed. Steve is in the process of putting down some composite decking, and the client now wants some post lights. So we're going to get in some post lights all sorted, but first and foremost we need to make sure that we've got all the supplies in ready to go. We're going to go through absolutely everything, how we go about what we're going to use, what materials we're going to use, how we're going to switch it, because it is remote to the garden. But you will have seen this job across the entire channel, because we did the entire project. After speaking to the customer wants a post light there, one over there, and then one in the corner. Now, luckily enough for me, when we built the studio, which is absolutely wicked, by the way, I left a cable out the back. So there is a cable out the back of the studio, which is for the aircon. Now, the aircon never actually materialised. We didn't really ever get around to installing it. Customer was within two minds whether to go down that route and decided, no, don't need it, it's all good. So we're now going to use that supply. I'm going to power up everything from there. So at the back here, we have our supply. So we're going to come up to here. The customer also wants a double socket on the back here, which they can plug some various different bits and bobs in. And then we're going to come out from there and lead all the way around and daisy chain all the way through. Now, years ago, when we actually did the actual first phase of the garden renovation, underneath this decking, there was actually some foxes living here, and it was freaked Jack out, our old apprentice Jack. All of a sudden, this massive fox come out and jumped straight over the fence, and it fricked him to death. First time I think he's ever come close to an actual fox. So, what we're going to be using to do this project is a balancing act. We're going to be installing armoured cable, so we're going to use 3-core, 1.5mm armoured cable. We're going to run that all the way along. We're going to drop it then into a Whisker 308 box. Bear with me. So the Whisker 308, which is that, we're going to get it inside there. We're going to then come out of there with a little bit of black flex. That's the only flex that's going to come through. Steve's going to drill holes through the decking where the actual lights are going to be fitted, because on the second fix, it'll make life a whole lot easier. Now, to terminate the armouring, we're going to be using the glands. Now, the glands we're going to be using are a weatherproof gland, because we need to obviously keep it weatherproof, it's outside. Now, could I have used flex all the way through? Yes, I could have done, but because of where this property is, you know, we're conscious of rodents and all the rest of it, we need to make sure that we can do our absolute best. And in this entire property, we've used yacht armoured absolutely everywhere, all underneath the floors and all the rest of it. Now, this is the first time this has happened. So on this shroud, this reminds me of the old school days, where this shroud is absolutely solid. And I'm going to show you a tip, a really, really cheeky tip to make this much better. Now, honestly, I can't even press that in to squash it. And that is how they used to be 20 years ago. And I don't know whether these have been kicking around, but I'm not happy. So inside here, I'm going to open all this up. So these ones come with some Wagos already in there, which is spot on. But we're actually going to use the earthing bar system, which effectively is these little bad boys. So those earthing bars are going to go in, so then that will carry on the continuity from the armouring that comes into one end out to the other end, keeps that earth continuity all the way through. Not the cheapest way of doing it, but I find the best way of doing it, if that makes any sense, because you want to continue that earth path all the way through the entire installation. So I'm going to set you up on time lapse while I start getting through some of this and get absolutely cracking. But first and foremost, actually, I'm going to have to show you this tip on how to this shroud, because I just thought I'm not going to have to get that shroud on the way it is. Bear with. Now, when it comes to these shrouds being absolutely solid, I'm going to give you a little hint. might have something to do with this. So, with this shroud being so hard, what you need to do is heat it up. So how are we going to heat that up without damaging it? And the best way I find of that is I'm going to use a jet boil. So I'll carry one of these in the van anyway for making my own cup of tea. But if you can get the customer to make you a nice warm cup of tea, you're going to need to drop the shroud in there. By warming that up, it should make it more malleable and get it back to, you know, a more malleable state for you to actually use. So that is the absolute top tip. It's a really old school tip. Not had to do it for years, in fairness, because most of the glands that I use aren't like this. And on that note, if you have now learned something from this tip and you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you do. Link is in the corner. Do us a favour, this is where I share a lot of the hints and tips, and it's something that you could do me a favour by subscribing to the channel and just appreciate it that I've given away some of the trade secrets. Thanks, do it now. Okay, so that's only been in there for a couple of seconds and I'm not burning myself too badly. I mean, the health and safety police will be all over that. See, now nice and squidgy. Like I say, that's got to be worth a cheeky little subscribe. So I've only got to process that about 20 times. Let's have a little closer look inside the whisker now. So what I've done is we've got it all terminated in. Now, if I hadn't have boiled that water, that would have never have gone on. It would have just been split, cracked and all sorts, and it was just rubbish. We've got our stuffing gland here, which is a 20mm stuffing gland. Now, you may notice there is no earthing bar between here because this is my last port of call, and this earthing for the steel wide arming is actually going to be onto the one prior, so I don't need it at the last point because it's actually going to be picked up at the one further back. So we've got our Wago 221s on, so they're all sorted. So I've used the 3-way ones that came with it, and I've ran a bit of black flex out, a bit of 1mm flex, because then that can, you know, we can move that to suit wherever we decide on putting the final position. So what the next plan is we're going to mount this up to the joist underneath, and then we're going to start running the cable back to our next position, and then we'll go again. But that's as simple as what it needs to be. So I'm going to fix this now through here so it keeps a complete weatherproof seal all the way through, and we don't have to ever worry about this ever again. And what I need to do on the testing side of things, depending on how far we get today, is all I need to really do is test this very last point, because obviously when I get to this last point, it is the complete end of the circuit. So hopefully towards the end of the video we'll go through that with you, but we'll now get this sorted because Steve has just gone off to go and get a load more of the composite decking because half of it came in, half of it hadn't, so he shot off to go and get it. So hopefully I can get this bit sorted before he comes back, because if not, he's not going to be very happy. Right, okay, so we now thought I'd bring you in a little bit closer so you can have a little look inside the setup. So essentially this is what it's going to be for the other lights moving down the line. So what makes this different is that we've now got the earth bar in, we've got our earth flying lead, which then, like I said, continues all of the earth continuity. So these glands are the weatherproof glands. That's really important that when you are cutting the sheathing off your armouring, that make sure that you don't have anything on show, because essentially the bottom one has got like a rubber grommet in it, like a stuffing gland that goes in there and obviously tightens that up. So it's that clamps it, that clamps for the waterproof, and then you slide your shroud back up and cover the both. Flying lead out for the light as usual. Now you can gel this if you wanted to, but I think it's just overkill in this situation, and that's essentially it. So you need to make sure that with the armouring that you indicate what cable does what, because obviously we've got our black there and we need to indicate that that is a earth. So while we put the sleeving on, now the wonderful Steve is back. He is here and he is racing ahead trying to get these planks on. So we're in a little bit of a race. Hopefully I can get my end sorted before he gets his end, else we're going to have a row. And we don't want to have a row. As you can hear, he's got the chop saw going. Jack is out the front with the wood chipper, so he is chipping out all the brush. Here he's coming, look, he is on his way. There he is, look. So he is getting on with those planks. I haven't got time to, as he said, just get off the camera and start doing your job. He's always picking on me.
Get this decking down today. This is my last day here.
Last day here. It's my first day here. It's first day on the job, isn't it? I got my first electrical kit.
Well, we know the electrics obviously don't take very long. Easy job.
It is an easy job. If you do it right. Or is that actually the wrong way? If you do it wrong, it's going to be very quick.
Yeah.
Just don't work for very long. Yeah, on that note, anyway, got to get on. So I'm coming up to do this next one, and as all good normal people do, it's time to cook your shroud. Why not? Feeling peckish, 2 it is. So they're cooked to perfection now. I like my shrouds not too soft, also not too hard, just right for consumption. So cutting these shrouds, okay, the best way I find about it is obviously put them on reverse like that and cut them, but without taking the big chunk of your hand off, because that normally happens. And then you do it in reverse, then you put it back on the right way and it will slide over. Perfect, and you get a nice tight seal every single time. So let's just go over that again with my freshly cooked one. Screw it on like a pencil sharpener. You'll see a mark. And then cut it through, like so. It's become the cookery program. This is the cookery channel. Shroud cookery is what we've gone with. And then turn it back over like that. Perfect every single time. You may have been wondering why I've had to use the cable tongue to get that cable through, and the reason behind it, standing right there. So
just too good? Just too quick?
Too fast. Too fast, mate. We were both in our own little worlds, chatting about work and all the rest of it, because we're boring, we don't talk about anything else. And then there's cable in the way. It's a bit of scrap cable. And Steve went, oh, probably need to make sure that cable goes in before too long. And yeah, we didn't really think that through. So next one will be easier, won't it, Steve?
I don't know. And if you
remind you. So yeah, I know. So yeah, we'll make sure that happens. So what we've done there, we've gone third plank in, 300 mil away from the fence, and that's the sort of standard that we're going to set all the way through. 300 out, centre of the plank, and I'm going to stand on that one while Steve's trying to fix it. So right, I need to keep going before he cuts any more of the timber and I can't get to anything. Okay, so I've now got all the cables in. They are all in place as far as, obviously then Steve's going to carry on with the decking. it's very, very busy. So what I'm going to do at the minute is going to leave them in this situation. So they're all coiled up. We ordered the actual post lights and we're all good. So we've now got it down to this last point, and then there's a massive cable that then leads round to there. So that's going to then be all infilled. We've got another one there, one down here, barbecues going here. Absolute beautiful. So on that note, hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, make sure you hit the subscribe button in the corner, and we shall see you on the next one.